Now,
Yeah, definitely. Ooh.
this is consistently issue 1 and 2 being one of the best books Marvel have put out in decades. I
I mean,
absolutely loved it.
when it arrives, yeah. But
Yeah, it is notoriously late. I think it's only 4 issues as well. So, you know,
yeah, yeah.
does issue three continue in the vein that the other two have? Yes, it does. This book is incredible. All right. I'm going to start with the art. So it's, honestly, Jonathan Hickman, this to me is one of the greatest books he's ever written. You know what I mean? And I find that strange as it's like a crossover book, but it is. It's one of the best books he's ever written. Esad Ribić has never been more on form with the art. It is an absolute joy to look at these pages, right? And I just feel that every panel, every piece of dialogue is purposeful and considered. It is brilliant. It's weaving in aliens with Avengers, something that you could go, oh, right, and you get those silly little mini series and they're terrible. But this isn't. This to me, I want this to be canon. I want this in the Marvel U because it is so damn good. So much like he started in issue 2, right? We start with the engineers who are in a different universe or multiverse and a different timeline as well. And they make short work of the Davids. Now the Davids are those um they're the enemy. They're the one that've been
Yeah.
cultivating these aliens to basically decimate every universe, every planet, all right? Which I think which is really cool because it means there's someone who can take these guys on, right? Anyway, we jump back to present time, right? And Stark and the survivors of Earth. There's not many of them. You got Carol Danvers and Mars Morales. They're in trouble, right? Because the ship took damage when they took off, and so they're going to be forced to land on Mars, which is basically mutant world, right? That's where I guess all the mutants ended up. So they haven't been there in like 20 years. They're not sure what they're going to find. So they land and a really cool thing. So Tony Stark is like 10,000 years old in this, as you know, right? He's an old decrepit man in his wheelchair, and he's like, "Right, I'm coming with you." And Miles is like, "No offense, dude, but you're an old man in a chair." And he says, "Not just a chair." And he goes, and he gets his Iron Man suit, and I was like, "Oh yeah." He may be old, but that suit's keeping him going. I was like, I love it. I love it. I thought,
That sounds
yes,
incredible.
it really was really cool. And like, I just love it because Mars is like has to pull his like mask up to go. What the fuck? What's going on? I was like, yeah, I love it. Anyway, Sinister runs this planet now. Yeah, yeah, and there's like multiples
Ah.
of Sinister, right? It's really cool, and he's got a face hugger, right? He's been taken apart, and he's been, what he does. He works all these things out, and he tries to take advantage of it, and he really does. And we get this really cool scene where as he turns away from the operating table, he's talking to like I don't know if they're clones of him or dupes of him, right? We see some very familiar X-Men all sort of like stuck in the wall with face huggers on them. Colossus is there with a face hugger on him, and
Oh
he's
shit.
like, "Yeah, we found the perfect being." All right, now I could just take over, do what evil people do. All right, and he's like, "Yeah, I love it." So, unbeknownst to Iron Man, Carol Danvers, and Mars Morales, is that they don't know that all the mutants are pretty much they're gone. Right, Sinister is taking care of them. They bump into Sinister, and while Sinister's keeping them busy, he sends a team of his sort of Sinisters, right, to the ship, and they got these guns where they fire these face huggers at everyone in there, all the survivors of Earth, right, and basically that's it for the ship, right? There are face huggers all over the place. Iron Man's little special like beep gets a hologram, and he sees what's going on. Then he's like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" But before you know it, Sinister sort of does this whole sort of like villain thing, and all these fully grown aliens, xenomorphs, they crawl round the back of him, and they circle Iron Man, Danvers, and Morales. So how is he controlling them? How is he? He's worked out their DNA and how to. I don't know. It's so cool. So the big, really cool fight goes on, right, between these xenomorphs and the guys. They're in the air, there's explosions. It is so cool. And Carol, she like blasts a hole through one of them, and all this acid goes on her face, starts melting her face away. And just as she starts to lose consciousness, there's this light in the sky, and guess who's there? Badass Emma Frost. She turns up with a couple of the other surviving X-Men.
What?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And Logan.
Oh man,
Oh yeah,
I need to read this. I need to read this.
yeah. So they've bandaged her up and they're trying to help her. And there's a really cool scene, right? She's like, "I've got to get back to the others. I've got to get back to the others." And say, listen, when we took you, your ship was blown up to smithereens, and we saw everyone else get overwhelmed. They're gone. You can't go back. She's like, "No, I promised never to leave anyone behind before. I've just done that, i.e. Bruce, right?" She's, "I'm not doing it again." And Wolverine's like, "No, you can't. You're not listening to me." He says, "You see, I got a note." He says, "One killing machine recognized another." All right. He says that is death out there. Even Wolverine is saying, "Don't go." Even I'm not going to go anymore. She's like, "No, fuck it, I'm going to go." And he goes, "All right, I'll come with you." Of course, because they're heroes, right? Anyway, the next day, right, they sort of portal to where the battle was, and they find Iron Man mask off, suit damage, the carcass of a face hugger, and a big hole in his chest. Like, he's dead. He is gone, mate. And I was like, "Oh my god, they killed Tony Stark off. He's dead." And as they're sort of like reeling from this revelation, something appears in the sky, and it's these two giant ships. And Carol goes, "Wakanda has arrived." Because don't forget, the
Oh boy.
Wakandans from issue 1, they're on a
Yeah, yeah,
revenge
yeah.
mission as well. They've turned up, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And the next thing says, "To be continued." I was like, "No, please don't end." This was great. That
Wow.
honestly, this was great. Nothing about this is bad. The only thing that is bad about it is that it's not 100 pages an issue, right? It is so good. Honestly, I have nothing negative to say about this. Art, the feeling, the characters, everything about it. You care about them. You really do care. You feel the dread. You worry that any of them could die. Everything about it, every word is superb. This is. I hope they do some beautiful oversized hardcover for his art and this story, because I will.
Mm.
I'll buy it in a heartbeat. First class, amazing book.